We're talking today with Jerome Warren of St. Joseph, Michigan, and the interviewer is James Smither of the Grand Valley State University Veterans History Project. Okay, Jerry, start us off with some background on yourself, and to begin with, where and when were you born?
I was born in Byron Center, Michigan, November 11th, 1926.
Okay, and then did you grow up in Byron Center?
No, I did not. We moved to Traverse City when I was a young lad. I cannot tell you. I forgot. And then we moved down to Watervliet. My dad got a job as a superintendent of finishing in the Watervliet paper mill. So that's where I grew up most of my life.
Okay, so did he have steady work through the 30s?
Yes, he did.
Okay, all right. And now how many kids were in your family?
There were 4 siblings.
And where were you in the sequence?
I was a leader.
Okay, you go first.
I was the oldest.
All right. And then how long did you go to school?
Well, 12 and 16 years.
Okay. So you went through high school then?
I did.
Okay. And when did you graduate from high school?
In 1944.
All right. Now, to back up a little bit before that, now, before Pearl Harbor happened,
Yes.
were you paying much attention to the news?
I remember it well. I was in the 9th grade when the Day of Infamy, and oh yeah, we had, everybody had radios then, and my dad and I and my mother were very, very conscious of what was going on and very concerned about the attack and what was going to happen after that.
Now, before that, did you have any idea, before Pearl Harbor, did you think we were going to get into a war?
Oh, no, I did not.
Okay.
That was the furthest thing from my mind, our mind.
Right.
Well, most kids didn't,
Okay.
weren't aware of that.
So you weren't following the news from Europe or anything like that?
No, I don't even remember reading the newspaper, except the comics.
Okay. You know, and that's not, you were what, 15, so it's
Yes.
like, okay, that's not real old. Okay. So now it happens. What kind of response was there in your community? I mean,
Well, anger, of course, and concern about, maybe they were going to invade us, which thank goodness they did not. If they had, we would have been caught flat-footed on the West Coast anyway.
It's a pretty big country. They
Yes.
probably wouldn't have made it.
Yeah,
to
we would
Michigan.
have probably repulsed it after, a few months of fighting.
Yeah, but in the meantime, everyone was worried you didn't know what was going to happen.
No.
Now, when it started, did you think it was going to be over before you would get into it?
I don't remember feeling about anything, what was going to happen. I guess I thought it was just a temporary thing that they wanted to show, they weren't just a little old country to be ignored. And so it was just a warning that they do have the capability of inflicting some damage on one of the biggest countries in the world.
Yeah. Except it got to be a lot bigger than that, and it lasted a lot longer. Now, after the war started, did you start to pay attention to the progress of the war?
Yes. After the war started, I started to read, about battles at Guadalcanal. In fact, I had a couple high school seniors join the Marines, and eventually got over to Guadalcanal, and they quit after the second semester. If you were quit after second semester, you were guaranteed that you would come back and get your diploma without even completing the second semester. I think that was true.
So anyway, they took off early and went
right.
off. All right. Now, how did you wind up entering the service?
Well, I thought about it and talked to my parents. Of course, my mother was definitely against it. But I thought I did not want to be drafted. And I was ready probably next to be drafted. I decided to join the Navy, so I went down to Benton Harbor and joined the Navy. They had a station there where you could join the Navy, and I think a week later I was on my way to Great Lakes.
Okay. And on what day did you enlist?
My birthday, November 11th.
Okay, so your 18th birthday.
No, 17th. You could join the Navy when you were 17.
Okay, I think you had told me you were born in 26.
Yes.
which would make the 18th birthday
But I
1944.
neglected to tell you, I skipped a grade.
Ah,
When I left the Catholic, I was in the Catholic school in Traverse City. I came back, I was in the 5th grade, but they promoted me to the 6th grade at Waterville Elite.
okay.
Could-
Well, but I guess I'm just trying to sort out the years, because
Yeah.
if you were born in 26, then
Yes.
your 18th birthday would have been 44.
Yeah,
So you,
I can't calculate that.
but if you were, if you enlisted in 43, then that would be 17.
Yes, so
But-
maybe then I was
Well,
8.
well, okay.
Yeah.
Let's say 18, but still 18th birthday, so that's.
Yeah, all right.
But
that's
it's
fine.
still before Uncle Sam would get you the draft notice.
Yes, I
Yeah,
did not, I
okay.
never got one.
All right, so why did you pick the Navy?
I liked the living conditions. I didn't want to sleep on the ground and fight in the mud and all that business.
All right,
That's what I was desired of living on board ship or even in an office
okay,
in Honolulu.
all right. So you said they sent you to Great Lakes for your
Yes.
basic training. Okay, and that's just north of Chicago.
That's correct.
Okay, now what did the training consist of?
Well, we had a lot of calisthenics and marching. We had we fired 20 millimeter guns down on the beach. And I was a loader, cartridge, it had 4 shells, I believe, 4 shells in each cartridge on either side of the gun. And I was loading the cartridges. So they were firing one, there was one in reserve, and then we had a fire drill. That was scary. They had a model of a ship, and it was on fire in various rooms, and we had gas masks, so forth. And we were sometimes led, but sometimes we had to find our way until that exercise was over. And then let's see what else. Plane recognition and firing on a firing range, a rifle and a 45, and I couldn't hit a barn with a 45. The kick was so bad that they gave me a pass on the 45, but I was pretty good with a
All right.
rifle.
Now, how much emphasis was there on discipline and following orders?
Oh, very much so. I'll tell you, it was, you learn to obey, and a lot of people had trouble with that, but I did not. I was meek and a little mild.
Okay.
I didn't have trouble with it.
Now, what would they do with people who didn't obey or? who
Well,
messed
they gave them KP, they gave them extra marching orders, and they found a way to punish them reasonably so. It wasn't vicious or anything like that, but you had to do,
Right.
yes.
Okay. So how long did the training last?
How long did I?
How long were you at Great Lakes?
10 weeks.
Okay. And what did they do with you after those 10 weeks?
Well, somewhere along the line, because I was a Boy Scout, I listed that on my enlistment papers, they thought I could be a signalman. So they sent me to Sampson Naval Training Station at Lake Geneva, New York. Now, if you're familiar with that area, there are 5 fingered lakes, and Lake Geneva is one of them. It was right near Rochester because we did get 1 week off, and we all went to hear the Rochester Symphony. So then I was there for 12 weeks.
Okay.
So,
Now, what did that training consist of?
well, learning, of course, blinker light, semaphore, flag hoist, flags, identifying flags, plane identification. I
Did
can't
they
think.
teach you Morse code or? Did you...
No, well, I had to learn Morse code for blinker light,
Okay.
but I never, by sound, I could never think, I couldn't do it.
Okay.
But light, you had to learn 12 words a minute, and semaphore, 22. And I was number 10 in my class, and I got 3rd class right out of Sampson Naval Training Station.
All right. And so you do the 12 weeks there?
Yeah.
Okay. And what comes next?
They sent us out to Camp Shoemaker, which is, I cannot remember where it's close to, in California. And the next thing I knew, I was on a Dutch ship, merchant ship, heading over to the Philippines.
Okay. And do you know roughly when that was? Was it in 45?
45, it had to be 45.
Okay. And about what month do you think? Or when did you get to the Philippines?
It was summer, well, I graduated from Sampson in April. I
Okay.
remember FDR died in April
Mhm.
of 45, and we were en route to Shoemaker right after graduation.
Okay. All right, so probably about May.
I
you're
would
shipping
guess
up.
that, yes.
Okay. So you're on, now, the ship you were on.
Yes.
So this is a Dutch freighter.
Yes.
Was it converted to a troop ship?
Yeah, it was not that big,
Mhm.
but it was carrying naval personnel. I don't know that any of my buddies were on there out of signalman school.
Okay.
But it had an East Indian crew, and they weren't very clean. We found, food was on the deck the next morning, and of course they cleaned it up, but we were up early enough that we could visually see it. Well, anyway, we landed at an island called, I think we stayed in Honolulu for a week. Then we went to an island called Samar, that was near Leyte.
Yes.
And from there, we went to Manila. The war was practically, I think the first atomic bomb had already been dropped at Nagasaki, or was it?
Hiroshima's first.
Hiroshima. Oh, you pronounce it Hiroshima. Anyway, that had been dropped, and the war was practically over shortly thereafter. So we went into Manila and parked at USS APL 19, and there I stayed till I was, till they sent us back to the United States.
Okay. Now, explain what an APL is.
It's an auxiliary personnel living, and that translates into a place where people en route to various other areas, whether they be transferred to a ship or a shore duty or what, they would stay overnight or maybe a week or two before they got reassigned. And we had somewhere up to 100 or 200 guys on our APL.
All right. Now, to physically describe the APL, I mean, what does it look like, or how
Well,
is it built?
it looked like a barge with 2 stories on it, attached to it. And I don't remember how many bunks they had, 500 or whatever, I don't know. But they were not in rooms, they were all stacked 4 high. And other than that, it had no armament, and not one. And they had no engine, no propulsion. So we were sort of sitting ducks, to be honest about it, but we never faced that situation.
Right.
And we had to be towed anywhere we went.
Okay. Now, what was your job on the ship?
Well, I was driving the skipper in a Jeep to headquarters every Monday. I don't know if we went there every day, but I was his personal chauffeur.
So I guess they wouldn't have...
I never sent a message
Mm-hmm.
by semaphore or light while I was on that doggone ship. Then I got so bored, I wanted to get on a destroyer. I went to headquarters there in Manila at the naval base and asked if I could get on a destroyer. They said, oh, we got a full complement. And see, the war was ending, and there was not probably a lack of recruitment, and the Navy wasn't filling up that position, signalman, and so I had to go back to the good old USS APL 19.
All right. So what was a typical day like for you then?
Well, get up and eat, and attend headquarters. I can't think of the term right now, where you all gather on a ship and held to be accountable that you're there. Oh, then I did get duty on the aboard ship when you come aboard. They had, I did get a 45, pack of 45, but I'd hate to use it because I couldn't hit anything. It was just kind of an emblem of authority. So anybody coming aboard ship, whether it be an officer or a enlisted man, you had to interrogate him and say, what are you doing here? And that kind of thing. And then, I guess that's about all I can recall doing.
All right.
I did stand by my signal, by my lights, in case I did get a message. Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, 4 hours at a time. Now, during the night, when you're on watch, I don't recall what I did, what I had to do. I really, well, somebody had to guard I can't think of the steps that come up into the ship, gangplank or whatever. And I might have had duty on that. But other than that, I don't remember what I did.
So about how many men were in the crew, do you think?
Oh, probably, I'm going to guess 100 maybe.
Yeah. And did they provide food service and
Yeah,
things
oh
like
yeah,
that?
we had, well, yeah, we had food, laundry, they had seamen that kept the deck. They had ship it 1 month and we paid it
Right.
again, because the air was very, very humid, and paint does not do well in that kind of situation.
Right. Did you have any black personnel, cooks or anything?
Yes, we did, yeah. Oh, yeah, we had some cooks, and laundrymen also.
Okay. Now, were they kept segregated from the rest of you, or were you all together?
I don't recall that they were. I really don't. I don't remember anyone sleeping above me that was black. I wanted the top bunk because people would come in a little inebriated and would throw up, and if you were on the bottom or the second bunk, you would get it. So I did get an upper bunk.
Okay. And how much time did you spend in Manila?
What?
Did you go into the city of Manila very much?
Yes, I did. Oh, well, we usually just went sightseeing, I guess, mostly. And, we hit the bars. I wasn't a heavy drinker at all. So I didn't spend much time in a bar. And we never went to, well, maybe I hadn't better say that. Some of the guys did, but I didn't.
So you were not seeking female companionship?
That's more like it.
There we are.
Put it that way, yes.
All right. Now, what kind of condition was the city in?
Oh, it was pretty bad. It was bombed out, yeah. They had done no reclamation yet. And another thing I didn't get was a tattoo. Some guys got tattoos.
All right. And how much contact did you have with the civilian population?
Oh, none whatsoever.
Just driving past them in your
just
Jeep?
walked by and ignored them, unless they spoke to you. Some of them spoke English, but not many. And especially little kids. Little kids followed us around, hoping for a handout. But if you gave one, you'd have to give everyone. So we didn't do that. So we quickly lost them to another serviceman.
All right. And who was the person you were driving around?
A Lieutenant Commander Fitzsimmons. I don't remember his first name, but he was a heck of a nice guy. He was USNR. Oh, by the way, I was in reserve, not the regular Navy. He was from Amarillo, Texas. I'll never forget that. He was a young guy too, but very, very nice. I don't know anything about his personal life.
Or what he did before he was on that ship or anything like that?
I probably did, but I don't remember. That was a few years back.
All right. How long did you stay in the Philippines?
Well, I'm going to say 45 till 47 till when we took the ship to Jacksonville, Florida.
All right.
Interesting enough, we went to San Diego, but the orders came through to go through the Panama Canal and up through Jacksonville, Florida. So we went. I got a lot of experience that I never would have got.
Okay. Now, before we kind of get to the return voyage, if you think back to those 2 years you were spending there in the Philippines, did you go any place other than Manila, or did you just stay right there? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have transportation, number one, and I didn't want to go out in the country. I didn't know the people, the culture, so I was a little concerned about that. So I didn't go outside the city.
Okay. How much contact did you have with people back home?
Did what?
Did you write to people at home?
Oh yeah, my mother and father, that's the only ones I wrote. I didn't have a girlfriend.
And did your parents, did they send you anything, or did they send you
No.
any packages or anything like
No,
that?
I
or
got
just-
mail from them though, yeah.
All right. Okay. And if you think about the time spent in the Philippines, are there any particular events or incidents or things that happened that kind of stand out in your memory?
Well, yes, I was on guard duty on the gangplank, I'll call it. And when I exchanged duty with the guy that I relieved, he handed me his .45, and for some unknown reason, I pulled the trigger and it went off. Well, needless to say, I got a captain's mass, which is the lowest form of punishment. I think I lost a month of liberty, and I lost my rank was not reduced, and the captain, Fitzsimmons said, you know, you did a dumb thing. I said, you know, I didn't know the safety was off. I never checked. And why I pulled the trigger, I do not know. He said, you could have shot your foot and you would have been discharged. This .45 bullet is awfully big. And so anyway, I had a month's liberty cut. But that was it. That's the only thing I remember that was memorable. I can't think of anything else.
Right. Now, what was the climate like?
Hot and humid.
All right.
And it wasn't just one day cool, it was hot forever while I was there.
Okay. Now, did your body adjust to that? Did you get used to it?
Oh yeah, yes we did. We had salt tablets, which is what you should take to avoid dehydration and so forth.
Okay. Now, did they give you other vaccinations or medication? Did
Oh,
they
I
give you
remember they gave it, in boot camp, they gave us a whole barrage of different immunizations.
And did they give you stuff to prevent malaria?
I'm sure they did. I never got it. I'm sure they did.
Well, there was a drug called Adabrin, which would, I guess, sometimes turn people's skin a little yellow or something
I
like that.
heard that, but I don't recall mine doing
Okay.
that.
You did not have a problem there. Okay.
By the way, I gotta tell you an interesting story. Back to the Dutch ship, when we went under, you know, when you leave San Francisco, it's rather mild in the bay, but the minute you get out underneath the Golden Gate Bridge, the old ship starts really moving. Well, for some reason, I never got seasick, but I tell you, I bet I counted 100 guys on the deck, overlooking over, what's the word I'm searching for?
Just over the side.
Yes, and losing their dinner.
Okay.
But, okay, back to.
Well, did you do anything to prevent seasickness, or did you just get lucky?
I don't know that we took any medicine other than salt tablets.
Okay.
No, I didn't do anything special, no.
All right.
One thing you must do is keep clean, and you shower for every day, and we got clean clothes. I always had clean shorts and t-shirt every day, and keep your hands washed frequently. So.
Were the showers salt water on the boat?
No, oh no, we had, we connected to the city water
Oh,
supply.
I meant actually while you
out
were
to sea.
in transit, yeah.
Yeah, when we were out to sea, being towed back to the United States.
Okay. But you were just talking about the day-to-day living on your barge, yeah.
On a Dutch ship, we had seawater.
Yeah.
And you got special soap. It won't, regular soap won't suds up. You have to use this special soap. I do remember that now.
Okay. But when you were in the Philippines, they were careful to keep you clean.
Yes.
Prevent various interesting diseases.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay. All right. So now, how much advance notice did you have that you were going to go back to the States?
Well, it was a rumor, and every service in the Army, Air Force, there are always rumors going on. And I would say 6 months,
Okay.
and finally, actually, it came true. But they told us this was going to be used as a medical facility, give it to the Philippines Filipinos, and it would be a medical facility. And that was fine with us, and then all of a sudden, they got the order to go back to the United States, to Jacksonville, Florida, and be disassembled.
All right. Now, did you go with it, or did you go home separately?
No, I went with it, and I was concerned.
Now, were you actually riding in the barge itself? Or
Yeah,
were you,
oh, yeah.
So you were not in the ship that was towing
The
it?
towing, oh, no, that wasn't big enough to hold our crew. No, I would never do it again.
Okay. Now, so what kind of ship was towing you?
Well, it's a seagoing tug. Now, it's not the tug that you see in New York Harbor. It was big, and we signaled each other. That was the only time I ever signaled anybody. The signalman on board the tug. I can't tell you the measurements. It was designed a little more ship-like than a tug, but it pulled us
All right.
without any difficulty.
And what was the weather like on the way over?
Well, fortunately, I don't recall any storms. There were some heavy seas occasionally, and I wasn't worried about that because I never got seasick. And but gradually, closer we got to the States, the weather calmed a little bit, and then we went to San Diego just for the tug to fuel up. We went down the coast of Mexico to the canal. Now on the west side is Panama City, and on the east side is Cologne. And we were going to stop in Havana at that time, but they were having trouble. Batista was the president or whatever, and that was too early for
Castro wasn't there yet.
Castro wasn't there yet. He was probably a youngster. Well, anyway, we didn't stop. We went right to Jacksonville, Florida, and down there's a river that goes down, and it empties into several bays, and that's where a lot of small ships were decommissioned. And that's the end of my naval career. Oh, I had to stay a month, that's right. And I thought, gee whiz, I had enough points by the way, I had enough points too.
So you had to stay in Jacksonville, or?
Oh, no, I headed right straight for Waterville. Yeah, we got tickets to where we wanted to go, and I was there. I know I slept on a train one night, and the next night we were in Waterville.
But you were still officially in the Navy at that point?
Yes, then I went to Great Lakes and was discharged.
Right. Okay. Now, after your discharge, what did you wind up doing?
I worked in a paper mill. My dad got me a job, nepotism, you know. And, but I was on a bull gang and did everything that nobody else wanted to do. And then I finally started college. I went to a small college out in Iowa called Iowa Wesleyan. It was in Mount Pleasant, Iowa. The reason I went there, my uncle was on the staff, and he invited me to stay in his house, where there were 4 kids to boot. Until my freshman year was over, I joined a fraternity, Phi Delta Theta, and did dishes and for 3 years and got my board and room. So I graduated in '51, came to Whirlpool and got a job right away as an expediter. Then I got to be a buyer and a senior buyer and manager, and that's as high as I went.
All right. Now, to look back at the time that you spent in the service, what do you think you learned from that or took out of it?
Well, I learned discipline. I learned to be organized, and focus on just day-to-day responsibilities. I can't think of anything else other than to be clean. And always be clean. And so that's it.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time today
Oh,
to
you're
share your
welcome.
story.
I was glad to do it.
All right.
I will be no charge.